A new document was filed in the recuperarse case, which may have made many people wonder. I thought the case was over. This video I'm going to talk about what this filing was because I think people will really enjoy it. There's also a new case out there trying to figure out who Satoshi Nakamoto is. We will talk about that and some important levels that XRP needs to stay at in this video so that the bull market can really continue. Guys, make sure you watch the whole video to see that. You won't want to miss it. As always, you guys really help me with this show. Thank you to everyone who liked the movies and signed up for the channel. These two easy things help me a lot. Also, if you know of a good place to buy XRP, please let me know. You can find my best exchange, Uphold, in the video's description. That being said, I'll listen right away. I hope you guys like what's here. I want to start this movie by talking about a very important event that happened last night, but didn't get a lot of attention. That's all we got. We have a new SEC commissioner named Paul Adkins. Besides the obvious talk about how this is good for crypto, how Paul Adkins is pro-crypto, and how Gary Gensler is against crypto, I have a few quick things to say about this. We don't need to talk about any of that. You guys already know what to do. In case you don't believe me, just look at how Gary Gensler was known in the cryptocurrency world. Also, I think your questions will be answered. First, I like that Paul Adkins isn't a Bitcoin maxi. He's not going to say Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. The truth is that Paul Adkins doesn't even have any Bitcoin. He owns many Bitcoin businesses. In terms of money, he's more interested in stock and picks and shovels than in tokens. However, that is a very good sign because it means he believes the whole system is important for cryptocurrency. I think it's very interesting for the chair of the SEC to be there. Paul Adkins has also been in this business for a very long time, which I think is another important thing to know about him. He has a good idea of what these companies had to go through when the old SEC was in charge. This whole mess was put there so that Paul Adkins could clean it up. So I think this is going to be a much better time for cryptocurrency companies and cryptocurrency investments. He's also not here to play politics. He has been in front of the Senate 3 times, each time for a different reason. Someone who knows a lot about the government. From what I've heard him say in talks, he seems like a good guy who wants to make things better. It's really cool to be able to see this. I really like him a lot. A short story from the inside. Somebody I know has talked to Paul Adkins before, and it was about XRP. I'm going to leave that on a bit of a knife edge. I don't want to say too much, but I believe he will be very helpful for Ripple and XRP in the future. I wish I could say more about this, but I think he will be a huge step forward for both Ripple and XRP. One more thing I want to say about this is that, guys, don't be surprised if the SEC gets more interested in crypto. I think a lot of people are saying, no, we don't want the SEC to get involved in crypto. We need to stay away from that, please. The CC is what we need to understand. Yes, they've had a lot of trouble. Many people have lied to them. They've done many things to stop Bitcoin. But it's not a terrible idea for the SEC to regulate Bitcoin as a regulator. The SEC can keep an eye on cryptocurrencies. I don't think the SEC will keep an eye on them. I think the KEF will keep an eye on them. But it doesn't really matter if the SEC looked over them. It doesn't matter if these things are thought of as securities since they're not securities at all. So what's the point of this? In the end, the most important thing is that the SEC works with the business. At the start of the SEC crypto mess, if the SEC had just said, okay, we think these things are securities, this is how you sign them up. They can still be bought and sold easily. We'll find ways to get around the rules so that everything works. I am sure that the cryptocurrency business would have responded in a very different way. The cryptocurrency business would have said, okay, as long as you give us a way to actually register these things and follow the rules, everything will be fine. They would have said, okay, well, as long as you give us a way to actually register these things and follow the rules, everything will be fine. In the past, the trouble was that the SEC told people to come in and sign up. After that, there was no way to sign up. You couldn't sign up for a coin. Let me show you quickly. Most of the time, security is solved T+1. That's trade day plus one more day. In 3 seconds, XRP settle. If the SEC wouldn't change anything about how these rules apply to Bitcoin, are you going to follow that rule? Also, I want to say that because it wouldn't surprise me if the SEC got more involved with crypto. But it's a good sign as long as they want to improve the market and not destroy it. I've been saying this since the beginning. In and of itself, the SEC getting engaged is not always a bad thing. It might be a good thing. People who know that this technology is different are all you need. New rules need to be put in place, and to follow those rules correctly. Also, believe that rules and laws will eventually make the whole area better. But you need someone who is going to do it honestly. We have never had that before. I also believe Paul Adkins is the best person to make this happen. That's all good stuff. It looks great to me. I'd like to now talk about a new document that was filed in the recuperarse case. Many people saw this and I think it scared them a little because they thought, no way. Wasn't this case meant to be over? I thought this was over. Why do they have to file things? Guys, read this for a second. These two groups, the SEC and Ripple, have filed a move together to put the appeal on hold because they have agreed to settle. The deal is waiting for approval from the commission. On April 16th, there will be no report. So, what does this claim say? It says that both sides met and said, wait, we're going to settle this case. What's the point of filing everything? Then they said, okay, we're not going to file anything. We're about to end this case. It doesn't matter, we're not going to file anything. The case is about to be over. So basically all we have to do now is wait for the SEC Commission to vote on the deal, and then it will be over. And that's exactly what we saw in this filing. The SEC and Ripple got together and said, by the way, Judge, we're ending this case, so we're not filing anything. We'll see you soon. That's it. That's exactly what we all thought would happen. Now, a lot of people are asking why the panel hasn't been formed yet. After all, shouldn't they be voting? Why isn't this done yet? Do not worry, we are going to do this. Not always, but most likely, getting this vote in is not the SEC's top concern. The government has changed a lot. Paul Atkins hasn't even started working at the SEC yet. It's true that he got in last night, but he only just got to the SEC. The final vote is coming up in about a month, which means this case is pretty much over. This filing pretty much confirms that it is over. This is the best sign we could have seen. The case is over. There's no need to worry or wonder why they're filing. They're telling the judge, hey, if you haven't seen it all over the news, we settled, we're about to make it official, we're not filing anything. It basically proves that both sides are working together and saying, we're done, sorry, we're out of court. It was a waste of 4 years. Have a nice day. The next thing I want to talk about is a very interesting case that Metal Law Man filed. As you may know, I really like Metal Law Man, so I was shocked when he did this. I don't mean to sound rude, but I'm shocked. He is a very respected guy in the space, so I can't believe he did that. This will make a lot of people mad. He is, in essence, suing the Department of Homeland Defense over the video they put out that went viral and talked about how they sent agents to go question Satoshi. He is basically suing the department to try to find out what the agents knew when they met Satoshi. We don't know if these spies talked to the real Satoshi. They could have talked to Craig Wright, who said he was Satoshi. No one knows if these spies were right or wrong, but Metal Law Man is looking into this. This case is going to be really interesting now. I really want Metal Law Man to win this. There are already cries from the Bitcoin community that no one needs to know who Satoshi was, which makes me want to know. This is just an attempt to become famous. Why would anyone want this in the first place? People do know who Satoshi is, though. Everyone seems to think that Satoshi will stay secret forever, which is kind of funny. It's clear that people know who he is. The government might know who he is. That's not a surprise. It will get out in the end. I'm going to put it on YouTube now. I think it's Jack Dorsey. I believe Jack Dorsey will eventually become Satoshi. At that point, everyone will likely scratch their heads and wonder if this means Bitcoin is now the same as all the other cryptocurrencies. Yes, that's the answer. In this case, it just means that someone made Bitcoin just like any other cryptocurrency. It was put in one place. In the end, it became fragmented. The Bitcoin elite are very worried that people will find out who Satoshi is because of this. As soon as you understand who Satoshi is, even more so if he's still alive, it makes Bitcoin the same as everything else. And since Bitcoin is the same as everything else, everyone knows who Satoshi is. It was a person, and eventually the identity will get out.